Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 27th episode of Crime Over Wine, the only podcast with head-scratching true crime stories that are just better over a bottle of wine. I'm your host, Liam Collins, and this week, my guest co-host used to be one of my toughest competitors in the news world. She is a Miami queen who spent time all over the U.S., Colorado, North Carolina, California, now Alabama. My guest co-host this week is Camila Barco. Hello, Camila. So good to see you.
Liam, it's been so long.
It has. I know. We used to hang out all together all the time in Jacksonville, and now we're just like literally a couple hours apart. But like you spent all our time in California, so we were like, really kind of missing each other. So
we had that long distance relationship for a little bit,
but we made it through.
We made it through, and now we're back. Just about an hour and a half from each other.
Yeah, not too far. I think it's like 2 hours. I think from what we calculated. So besties again. So love that for us. So Camila and I first met, like we said, when we were both reporters in Jacksonville, North Carolina. We were both bureau reporters for stations in town. And now Camila works with the United Way in Huntsville, Alabama, but like we said, makes some, pit stops along the way.
Yeah. Looking back at how far we've come since North Carolina, we've gone through so much, and it feels like forever ago.
It does. Yeah, it was 2 years ago. Actually, I moved away from Jacksonville 2 years ago next week.
Whoa.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It is. And I moved, I think it was almost 2.5 years ago that I moved from North Carolina, and I was in California, and now I'm in Alabama, and it feels like I've done so much, but when I look at the time frame, is 2.5 years too long?
Yeah. Well, and it's crazy too, 10 years from now, we'll be like, that was such a blip on the radar, you know what I mean? And now we're just you know what I mean? Now 2 years feels like such a extensive time frame of our lives. So
I also want to say you're putting Jacksonville, North Carolina on the map for people.
And you know what? Anyone who's listened to the first couple episodes of my podcast, who listened to last week and also listened to episode 6 of this podcast, knows that some wild stuff happens in Jacksonville and no one talks about it. And so I am here to talk about it. So love that for us.
Not to be mistaken with Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah, different. They're not the same. They're definitely not the same. But I will say, so I'm just because we brought up some of the cases that happened in Jacksonville. So episode 6, we talked about Mariah Wood's case.
Okay.
And you were here for a little bit of the evolution of that. So any wrap up thoughts on that? And also pause just here for a second. If you have not listened to episode 6 of this podcast, go back and listen to that right now, because we're probably going to spoil some stuff for you.
I got there after it all happened, but I was still in the midst of hearing things about the story. Yeah. And I never dug deep into what happened and how it happened. But for me, it was one of the biggest stories that definitely we covered in Eastern North Carolina. I mean,
by far.
You came, I think, about a year after it happened or so, or maybe just a few months.
Yeah, it was the end of 2017 that it happened, I believe, and then I got moved there in 2020. So
okay, well, my math is wrong too. that's why I was a journalist.
Yeah. True. But also too, so last week, for a case that I know that you covered, we covered the Jenna Franks case last week. That I know you're familiar with, and so that is it makes me mad, because that is such a case that did not get the attention that it needed, in any way, shape, or form. So any thoughts there, I guess?
That one was hard to cover, because it was such a graphic story from what I was hearing, especially from people in the community. And like you said, it did not get the attention that it should have. And the last time I heard about this case, I remember that people, or the law enforcement, was still looking for the person responsible. So I don't know if you have an update on that case.
No. So no update in terms of investigative stuff. And that's kind of been another thing that, I know where I'm going with this, but just with the agency that, that is investigating that case, kind of makes me mad in terms of the information that they're putting out there. Lack of information that they're putting out there, is kind of frustrating. But I mean, then again, maybe they just, have put out everything that they actually do know about it. Who knows? But I don't know. Yeah, that one upsets me, because there's there's a lot of things that like I know that you know that I know that like I haven't really been able to like definitively confirm through like source material that, you know, makes it even more heartbreaking. So for those of you who are listening right now and like did listen to the Jenna Franks episode last week, like we scratched the surface on this and like really didn't dig too much deeper into the graphic details, I suppose. And so, you know, point being is like, again, so like this is a case that like needs attention and needs a lot of people like us who are going to be elevating those stories. And so yeah, it's just that one it gets to me and is one of the reasons why I wanted to start this podcast.
Yeah, no, like you said, it definitely needed the attention that it did not
still
get.
Needs it.
Yeah, still needs, because the investigation, from my understanding, is still ongoing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, they, as far as I'm aware, they don't even have a person of interest even. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe they have some ideas, but I don't know. Again, they haven't really said anything, so who knows? So anyways, you know, we have not even gotten to the wine yet, so let's go there because we needed wine to talk about that. So let's bring in the wine now. So this week we are drinking Francis Cappola's Pinot Grigio. It's a crisp, vibrant white with flavors of lime, green apple, honeysuckle, and natural acidity. So like very tropical flavors in there.
Ooh. Just in time for summer.
Yeah, seriously. But I'm also kind of like nervous. Like there's a lot of like sour flavors, so we're gonna see how this one goes for sure.
I will say lime, green apple, those are some of the things that I love in any drink. So
interesting. Yeah, well you're also like a little Miami girl, so like I definitely see you loving anything with a little lime in it. So
it's interesting because we have very different favorites.
Oh, I remember that about you. Oh yeah, I remember that. You were always trying to go for like the sweetest wines possible, and I was like, no. Like, hold on.
This is a meme. Liam is red wine versus white wine. Yeah, I am white
literally.
Wine. White wine all the way.
Okay, let's move on before Camila and I break up because this is like
another long distance relationship.
Yeah, seriously. We got through like literally living on the outside of the country together, and like now we're gonna be broken up over wine. So, you know, honestly though, if I'm ever gonna ruin a relationship, it's gonna be over a wine, to be fair. So
that is a Liam thing to do.
It is. It definitely is. So this week, Camila, I want to tell you about a crime story that isn't what you all may be used to from this podcast. It's not a murder story or a missing persons case. No, it actually has nothing to do with either of those two kinds of crimes at all. So if you came looking for that kind of story, bear with me this week. Instead, it is a true head-scratching crime story that gets at some injustices that played out in a small town in Alabama. Two older women think they're doing the right thing, but they pay a major price for it. This week, Camila, I want to tell you about Beverly Roberts and Mary Alston, Alabama's cat ladies. Around 7:30 in the morning on June 25th, 2022, police in Wetumpka, Alabama, a town just north of Montgomery, get a call about a car parked off of a road near the city's courthouse. Now, this isn't just any car. The caller tells police that they know the woman who drives it. Her name is Mary Alston, and not only do they know who she is, they also know what she's doing parked back there. She's feeding the stray cats in the area.
The stray cats?
Yeah. Yeah, and like also to be clear, like annoying. Like I like we're talking about Jacksonville. Like the last time that I when I lived in Jacksonville, there was like the outdoor staircase to my apartment, right? There was this people on the first floor that would feed the stray cats all the time. So like all the time there were these like stray decrepit cats that were just like hanging out outside. And I had Forrest at the time who did not like cats. Then they did not get along. And so every single time I'm like trying to like steer them away from these like flea-ridden, animals. And so point being is like there's, I don't know, like annoying. Like I get the annoyance, I suppose.
And we don't happen to know who the caller is. I'm guessing we'll get more into it, but
we are definitely going to get more into who the caller is. So hold on.
Okay. Okay. No, keep going now. Keep going.
Okay. So maybe, like we said, a little annoying. Feeding stray and feral cats can often lead to an overpopulation of the animals in the area, as they often become accustomed to expecting food in this area. The city had apparently become really overburdened with the feral cat problem problem around the courthouse. The cats had apparently done some substantial damage to county property, including on police cars, and people feeding the cats had also invited some other animals too, including buzzards, to come and do even more damage than that. The city, including the mayor, had been able to tie this activity back to Mary Alston and her friend Beverly Roberts, who were 60 and 84 years old, respectively. Beverly was even a retired sergeant major in the U.S. Army. The duo was pretty well known around town as a pair of, troublemakers, and I mean like the best way possible, in my opinion. They became advocates for animal rights in the town, reporting dogs that were being treated poorly and speaking up against animal cruelty. They became regulars at city council meetings where they would advocate for ordinances that banned dogs from being tied up or tethered outside, and they also called attention to incidents of animal abuse or cruelty and demanded that the city do more to stop it. And I have to imagine that the city probably felt like nothing that they did would ever be enough for them.
I just want to say, first of all, I'm glad that this is going in not an animal cruelty type of a story.
Yeah, that's right.
When I was first hearing about this, I didn't know whether this was going to go that way or, in the way that it's going to go. Because animal cruelty stories are, being a reporter, that was one topic that I could not cover.
Fair.
I can cover murders. I can cover any trial cases. But when it came to animal cruelty cases, I looked away. I never raised my hand up to take part.
Well, because you know what, too? Just because, again, we've both been there, that the smell is bad. When you go to those kinds of properties, the pictures are going to be bad. The videos are going to be rough. Totally right there with you for sure. I, cannot help but see my dog's faces in every single one of those pictures.
Oh, and also, I also want to sigh because it's two older ladies participating in this.
Yeah, so let's re-emphasize that again because I did feel like I went over that really fast. So Mary is 60. Beverly is 84 at this time.
A retired sergeant major in the U.S. Army.
Yeah. Literally lived her whole life trying to do the right thing.
And
the right thing.
And now it doesn't seem like it's going in the best way.
No. But, you do have to respect a couple of retired ladies who really want to dedicate every single second of their free time to fighting for a cause that they care about, especially a cause that supports our little fur babies. Feral and stray cats are a significant problem in cities across the country, and there is an important difference between those two words, too. Stray cats are cats that have at one point been housed, but may have escaped or been let loose. So those cats typically have some domesticated instincts and can pretty easily be reacclimated to a homed lifestyle. Feral cats, on the other hand, have never been homed and are used to fending for themselves, which can make them aggressive and destructive, and they can often become invasive, killing animals like songbirds or other wild animals that are already under stress for a variety of different reasons. And while seeing just a few feral cats in the neighborhood may seem harmless, it can quickly get out of control. A cat can produce as many as 20 kittens in a single year. Have a Heart says a pair of unfixed cats and their offspring can produce up to, you ready for this? 420,000 kittens in their entire lifetimes. PETA estimates that between 60 and 100 million homeless cats currently live in the United States. They often live short lives on the streets and more often than not dying from diseases like feline AIDS or infectious peritonitis rather than from old age. So this is what the National Animal Rights Organization says you should do if you have a feral cat problem in your town. Don't stop at feeding alone. That will only attract more cats to the neighborhood and make the problem even worse for you. Instead, you should get the cats captured humanely, either on your own or by getting animal control to do it if that's an option, and take them to a local shelter. An increasing number of shelters are not taking homeless cats due to overcrowding, but most shelters will still spay or neuter the cats free of charge, and they can be let back into the area where they were taken, where they can live with better behaviors and with a decreased risk of the population spreading. PETA calls this a feral cat colony, but it only works if every single one of the cats in that colony are spayed or neutered. Okay,
I just want to say this might be a government city problem. Why are they not addressing this themselves? That's
good question.
That's my, that's my question. These women look like they're taking action because their own government is not taking action.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so let's get there, too. As part of their ongoing battle to help the city's animals, Beverly and Mary would set up shop near the city's courthouse for TNR, or Trap, Neuter, Release. Basically, they would use their own money to lure stray and feral cats into cages, pay for them to be spayed or neutered, and either release them back where they were captured or get them adopted if that's possible. And although it wasn't very popular, animal rights advocates said it was absolutely necessary to curbing the feral cat population in town. In fact, the head of the Humane Society in Montgomery told CBS News that it was, quote, the solution to the city's feral cat problem.
Okay, again, give these women like the key to the city, whatever it is. Right. They're doing the job that the government should be doing, and these ladies are getting in trouble for it.
Yeah, right, exactly. So that and I was looking up. I was like, okay, does the city not have like a freaking animal control? Yeah. Like, I don't understand why, like, these ladies need to feel the need to do this, but they do. They literally have an animal control, and so I don't get it. Like, I'm like, okay, if clearly your city isn't doing the problem, you're having this issue, they're causing damage to the property. Either send animal control down there and do it, or just let them freaking do what they want to do. Like, it's not like, if this is really an accepted practice, like, just let them do it.
Yeah, and I also want to say, when I was living in Colorado as a reporter, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, because this is a problem not just here in Alabama. This is a problem like across the country. I'm sure certain cities and towns are seeing this all around. When I was in Colorado, I was living in this small town called Grand Junction. And putting Grand Junction on the map, Grand Junction had a problem with this as well. They had so many cats. They needed to stop the problem. They were overpopulating. There were probably more cats than there were people there. And there was a humane society, like a humane society for animals. And what they did is they brought a vet, and they had this whole operation, kind of how Beverly and Mary did. They would go out, they would trap, they would neuter, and then they would release them back into the wild. And they had this whole operation going, but it was the people in the town who were specialized in this to do it. It wasn't just some random people.
Right.
So applause to Beverly and Mary.
And so, to be clear too, so they have like this whole history of like, dealing with these kinds of animals. So like although it might just seem like a couple old ladies, like they have like a lot of background to be able to do this kind of stuff. And also, like, everything that I read about TNR, Trap, Neuter, Release, like every single animal rights organization said, like, yes, this is helpful to like the ultimate problem, because it cuts down the population and also doesn't put as many people in danger, because if you release them, if you release a feral cat back into the environment, like, they're going to be much more likely to survive, as opposed to putting them in a home, because first of all, they could be a danger to people. So that's not obviously a possibility, but like, what are you going to do? Like, put them down? Like, like, I don't like where you can just like put them back into the wild to like figure it out for themselves. And like, once they're neutered, or spayed, like, they're going to be much less likely, to cause problems, like exactly the problems that the city is talking about. So that was like every single article that I read about TNR, it backed that up.
And what did the city say anything about what these women were doing with that TNR?
Yeah, the city did not like that the city's cat ladies were doing this, like, at all. They saw the food that they were offering the area's cats as a leverage for these cats to set up shop and, again, do countless amounts of damage to city and county property. Beverly and Mary had apparently set up their operations on this side street before, which was public property, but because the city didn't like that they were doing this, they had asked them to stop and leave the area multiple times before this day, and even had them trespassed at least once before.
My question is it legal for them to give food to the cats? Like, is that a problem?
We are going to get there.
Oh, okay.
So you're jumping on a little bit, but I love the way you're thinking so much. But we are going to get there. But to that point too, like, I think the public property thing here is really important, because you can't be trespassed from public property just because you're there and like they don't want you there. You know what I mean? Because like like taxpayer money. But they can trespass you if you're doing something illegal. So if you go in, public nuisance, if you are, causing problems, if you're going there and graffiti or whatever, you hit somebody, then they can have you trespassed and kicked off the property and have you arrested that way. But just because they're there and you're doing something that they don't necessarily like, that's not a reason to arrest you, right? So that's a very important difference. And again, we're going to get there and we're going to explain that whole thing. So hold on to that.
Okay, I'm jumping ship, but tell me more. Tell me more.
Okay. Well, when officers arrived, officers saw that Mary was in possession of Fancy Feast, and it was all over the front and back seats of her car. They told Mary that she had been told last summer to stop returning to the spot to feed the stray cats, and this interaction is caught on body camera video, which was published in full by AL.com, and we are going to link to this video on our website and in our show notes, but here, Camila, here it is.
Ooh.
10/4/10/28 returns to Mary Alston of Wetumpka on a 2005 Hyundai HG350, green in color. Status is current, 29s are negative.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. All right. What question? What are you doing?
Trying to trap some cats.
Okay. All right. We got a call that somebody was out here feeding the cats and stuff like that. So
I'm trying to trap them.
okay. You have your driver's license with you, man? Where do you take them once you trap them?
Okay, wait a minute. I got 3. Y'all have 3 cop cars because I'm feeding cats.
No, we always do this. It's fine.
Do they really?
Thank you, ma'am. All right, give me just a second, Miss Alston.
Okay.
That would be a good one. Why don't you come up here and learn how to do this?
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir.
Better yet, why don't you go tell her to get back on and don't come back?
Okay. You're formally trespassed from this area right here, so if you come back and we catch you out here, you go to jail for criminal trespass third. No, ma'am.
This is public property.
City property. This is city property.
Yes, ma'am.
Which makes it public property.
Yeah, and the city does not want anybody feeding the animals around here because they're becoming a nuisance.
I'm trying to help that nuisance by catching them. I mean,
Okay.
they should be thanking me. I've got a trap set right there trying to help catch them and get them out of here.
Okay.
We have an animal control officer that's certified for that.
I know that, and Terrence knows that I try to help him catch them.
Okay.
We're telling you no.
Okay, the trespass stands. Just don't be around here trapping them anymore, okay? All right, you have a good one.
So I have like so many thoughts, but I want to hear yours first.
Well, my question, I don't know if you have an answer, but my question is, maybe I should know this. They said that it was public property, but the city didn't want them there. But isn't public property taxpayer money? So is she really trespassing?
Right. So that was like that was like my first eye roll moment because Mary was like, this is public property, but then he says, no, this is city property, which by the way, same fucking thing. But yeah, so that kind of made me mad. So yeah, but you are right about that. So I mean, right. So city property. So like point being is like she paid for it. Like she's a taxpayer. So not saying again that she can do whatever the heck she wants to on it, but like the city can't do whatever the heck they want to her. You know what I mean?
This goes back to also the feeding the cats. It's not illegal. So if she wasn't doing anything wrong.
Yeah, right. So I guess and this becomes like a little clearer later on, but like I guess so I go back to the fact that to what we said before about how she had been there before. They didn't like that she was there before. They trespassed her before, so now it becomes a problem. And so that's kind of where we're at, I guess. So I guess the fact that she was trespassed there previously and then her returning makes that a crime.
Okay.
But yeah, but I still don't like the fact that she was trespassed to begin with. But like, again, not the point.
Yeah. My thing is, why is she in trouble for trespassing when really she isn't trespassing because it's city property? But
Right. Yeah, and just on like and like I said, we'll link to this on our website, in our show notes too. But for listeners, obviously, are not going to be able to see this. Like, it's just like she's just like parked on like a grassy side of a road. Like, it looks like a double yellow lined road. Like, it's nothing crazy. Like, it's not like she's like off in the woods somewhere. Like, she's literally just like maybe 10 feet off of a pretty main road. It looked like.
Yeah, it looks like on the side of the road on the grass. It's not like she's blocking traffic. It's not like she's blocking a parking spot. She just parked somewhere else. It looked like there were some trees around her, but no nuisance to anybody else.
Yeah, and I will say though, because I think you caught this right at the beginning, like how she was like, "Oh, you guys have 3 cop cars to like come do this," and he was like, "Oh, we always do stuff like this." I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, "Okay." I don't know. Like, I get like every traffic stop is different, and you never know what you're getting yourself into. 3 cops though for a feeding the cats call feels a little excessive.
Well, I would defend you too, because what I also say is at the beginning they'll say her name and they'll say like the car, so they know who they're dealing with. And
Oh, yeah. Oh, and like going back to your original question, like with the caller, they knew who they were dealing with from the very beginning. But we'll get there.
Yeah, and I'll give the officers the benefit of the doubt. It sounded like one of the officers wanted to teach the other one something. Looks like they were in training, so that's fine. But 3 cop cars, that's a little excessive for some cats and an older lady.
But then, I don't know if you heard that little interaction that those 2 cops had. It was really kind of faint. But he says to the cop, to the cop that is apparently in training, that cop says to the training cop, let's teach you how to do this. Tell her to get the fuck out and don't come back. And again, so this was a minute after this whole, like the original interaction. I think it's just worth noting like the mentality and like how they are going into this whole entire situation. And like, I know like cop speak is like they're a little bit more crass than the average person, but like you're dealing with a 60-year-old woman, like calm down a little bit, like maybe keep the swearing to a minimum here. You know what I mean? Like, it just like, you're not dealing with some hoodlum, like you're dealing with a 60-year-old woman who just wants to feed the cats.
Cats and an older woman. That's it. It's not going to be a hectic day at work, so.
Well, about an hour later, officers arrive again to that exact same spot, and this time, Mary is not alone. Beverly had driven to the road almost exactly where Mary was. In fact, it looked like Mary's car didn't even look like it moved, a single inch. And what happened next is what police get a good amount of flack about. Okay, so like we're talking about those flavors again, right? So you were talking about the lime. Lime is popping in this wine for 1000%. I did that is pretty much all the flavors I'm getting, and also too like the bottle is green, so like maybe I should expect a little more, and even like the wine's a little bit green too.
I was gonna say, do you like since the beginning we know that you like the red wines. I obviously have a different palate. I prefer the lime. I am Pinot Grigio, love it.
I'm not a huge citrusy flavored kind of guy though in wine, so that's kind of my. But also a lot of those citrusy flavors are more in whites. So I don't know. I don't like fruity flavors in wines in general. Like I just want like very like dry, bold flavors.
Yes, and I don't like you for that.
Listen, everyone has their thing, you know what I mean? And so like, that's just my thing.
I will say sometimes a drink can get too fruity and that's just too much for me.
Oh, yeah.
I need to have it balanced. I can't have it too dry. I can't have it too fruity. I need it to be like right in the middle. So do you feel like we're hitting that middle, or do you feel like it's still a little too fruity?
I do feel like it's on the fruitier end. I just don't think, because it's a very subtle flavor too, which I'm not really digging. Like it's not really. I don't know. It's again for the people who are listening right now who are on the fruitier end of the scale.
Okay.
So if that's where you're going with this, I think
This is for you.
Going to enjoy this. I think this is for you. I definitely think this is for you.
But if you're anything like Liam and you like red wine, this is not for you.
No, and I'm like trying to pick out the flavors too. Like the honeysuckle, I'm definitely getting for sure.
Okay.
And it's also a lot in the front of the mouth. I'm not getting a whole lot in the back of the mouth either.
I feel like that's how a lot of white wines are.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I'm getting it's very mouth forward for sure. But I mean, I think, I will say for considering, because, I do a lot of like very dark cases on this podcast. And so considering that we're changing things up a little bit and we're doing a little bit more of a lighter fun case, it is nice to have a lighter fun wine. And it's also really nice to have like a lighter fun guest because Camila is a light fun time. So
this is fitting to today's story. It's fitting to me, and it's also fitting to the season.
True. Very, very true. Very, very true.
I had a lot of watermelon in this weekend. So now hearing about lime and citrus, you're just throwing summer at me.
Summer is here. Summer is here. We love that, Prez. And we know, it's like summer year round in Miami. And so like
maybe that's why I like white wine.
Probably. Yeah, you definitely can't drink red in Miami, that's for sure. Well, let's get back to the story because we're about to get into Beverly. Beverly's about to enter the chat. And so you wanna hear what happens when Beverly gets there?
I do. Yes.
Okay. Well, again, this time 3 cop cars show up to ask these ladies about them feeding the stray cats. And when they approach Mary and Beverly, they ask Beverly for her ID. They run it and find that she's been trespassed before for the same exact thing. So here's what happens next.
What are we doing?
For 939. Could you 10-9 or 1028?
Delta Victor 57701. Well, man, we told you to leave this area. Well,
1028 returns to Beverly Roberts.
We're teetering on going to jail.
Striated Camry, gray in color. Current 29 is negative.
I'm teetering on going to jail for feeding cats.
Well, for trespassing, we told you to leave and you haven't left. I could take you to jail now. I'm not trying to do that. Ma'am, do you have your driver's license with you?
Yeah. I mean, we're trying to do a good
Thank you, ma'am.
I don't understand. We're trying to help. We're not.
Negative 10-9. You want to handle her? I mean, she's still not leaving. If you want to take her to jail too, go for it. All right, Ms. Roberts? Okay. Apparently, they've had an issue with you out here before with the cats.
Not here.
Feeding the cats out here, right?
Well, I feed them. We've been trying to trap them, and we get them neutered and then get them homes.
Okay.
So we're trying to do the city a favor.
Okay, well, the city has asked you multiple times.
The city?
Yes, ma'am. Not to do this.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and they have trespassed you. Okay, and now you're trespassing.
I'm sitting in my car. I'm not.
Well, you're on the property. You've got cat food. Okay, it's pretty. I mean, all in the back seat. It's pretty clear what your intent is. Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. So, because you've been trespassed and you have returned yet again, we're gonna have to take you to jail. Okay.
Jesus Christ.
No.
No.
You can go too.
I'm just.
No.
So I'm not allowed to talk.
No, that doesn't involve you. You've been told at least 25 minutes ago that you were trespassed from here.
I will call a lawyer. All right.
Yes, ma'am. That's fine. You can call a lawyer as soon as you get to the jail. Okay.
As soon as I
Go ahead and
get
get
to
in your
jail.
car.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead and get in your car. Go ahead and get in your car.
Ma'am, go to your car before you get arrested.
I guess you want it to.
No, I just wanted to say something.
Okay, get in your car.
Go ahead and get in your car.
Get in your car. All right, Miss Roberts. I'm gonna have to get you to step out. Okay.
I'd be trespassing if I did.
Well, ma'am, you're already trespassing.
Shit. You all are unbelievable. This is what you're wasting city gas on.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Step up here for me. Okay.
Now, wait a minute.
I'm not gonna listen to me. I'm not listen. Hold on, where are you going?
I'm going to give her my car keys so she can get my car to my house.
Here, give it to that officer right there. He'll hand them to her.
want to say one thing
Hey.
to you.
It's going to get ugly if you don't stop.
Can I please say one thing?
Okay. Now you just got another charge.
Can I say one thing?
Get out. Get out. I'm tired. Get out.
I,
Get out.
Help him.
I got hurt real bad.
Can I get my car off
No,
the
ma'am.
road?
You just threw those keys at an officer. You're not getting anything. Ma'am, stop. Come on now. You're an 84-year-old. You are way too old to be acting like this. Come on now.
Listen.
Acting like a child.
Listen, I want my purse. I want my purse, my identification. You can't take me without my purse. You understand? You cannot take me without my purse.
Go ahead and step in for me. Ma'am, go ahead and step in. Come on.
Close my car door,
Ma'am,
please.
we're going to get all your stuff. Just step in for me.
Well, I can't without, I'm almost 85 years old.
Yes, ma'am. And I had every intention of putting those handcuffs in the front for you until you started acting like that.
I'm sorry I can't get in.
Okay, step back out real quick.
Uh,
I'm going to put you in the lower car so you can get in better.
I'll stop. You lock my car? Jeez.
Easy.
Well then.
Yeah, seriously. Again, I have like so many thoughts, Camila, but you first.
First, just the manhandling on these women. That was just unnecessary. It was just a conversation, didn't need the handcuffs. It could have probably been sorted out, could have probably taken maybe a little bit longer than they wanted it to be. But in the end, these women showed no threat to anybody, not the officers, not the cats. And they were just taken into these cop cars very aggressively.
Yeah. Well, and that aggression started like literally from the jump, right? Because right off the bat, I mean, even with Mary going back to the very beginning, they were already threatening her with arrest. Like they were threatening her with arrest from the very, very jump of this whole thing. And it's like, to me, like, I'm just like there are people committing murders. There are people dealing drugs in this town. I'm sure of it. There are like all these like very dangerous situations that could cause people actual physical harm. And like you, 3 different police officers are spending your evening going after these 2 older women and like, you know, like give them a fine. Like if you really care that much, give them a fine. Like why? Like because the only thing you're doing right now is taking them to jail and costing the city more money, frankly.
Yes. And also, like she said, the city, you're spending city gas on this. You're spending gas on driving out to where these women are. You couldn't just write them up a ticket the first time. There could have been other solutions to this besides just putting them back in the back of a cop car.
Yeah. And also, so there was, and like, again, for our viewers, our listeners, you're not going to be able to have seen this part. But so what happened was, so they get Beverly out of her car, because pretty much the whole interaction is with Beverly still sitting in her driver's seat car. And, so at some point she gets out of the car after they say that she's going to jail. And she tries to give Mary her keys. And that's when the officer goes up to her and says, "Oh, this is going to get ugly if you don't stop." Like, what the fuck does that mean? First off, like, what are you going to like rough up some 84-year-old woman? Like, anyways, and then at that point she like he says that like she threw the keys at him, which like is not true. Like she does like a little like harder, like kind of put the keys in his hand, but she didn't throw it at him by any means.
Right.
And like to charge someone with assault for that is absurd and like the highest level of absurdity. Like, frankly, these cops should be embarrassed themselves. Like, honest to God, if they to call themselves law enforcement officers is embarrassing.
Yeah, just very sensitive overall with these officers from what I saw in this video. And like you said, right from the get-go, right from when we started this video, you can see that these officers were there for just one thing. They were not putting up with it. They were just saying, we're going to arrest you and we're going to take you. But again, this is what people always complain about. Why are we wasting taxpayer money on these ridiculous things, these petty crimes, which I don't even know is still a crime to this point. I'm not sure if there has been a crime committed.
Unclear, totally unclear. Very, very true. But also too, so like, you know, because with the whole key interaction, like, so that's when like after they put her in she like throws the keys at him allegedly. That's when he like puts her in handcuffs. But you can see the handcuffs like even before all that, right? So like he very much so intended to like put her in handcuffs and take her away. So I don't know. It's just, I don't know. The whole interaction is just very much so like feels like they're flexing on them. And also too, like when I first saw this, I was wondering like who higher up is telling them that like this is like it's putting the pressure on them.
Yeah, so. I don't know if we're going to reveal who the caller is at any point.
We sure are.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, so there are, you know, a couple of things you can see in the videos too. Beverly apparently has had cat food in the front and back of her car, and while police are speaking to Beverly, Mary goes over to the spot where she usually lays her cat trap and picks it up to return it to her trunk.
Yeah, again, it was just from the get-go from this video, you can just see that this officer had one thing. There was one thing in his head, and he's like, when I get there, I'm just going to arrest these 60 and 85-year-old.
Yeah. Put an end to this. Yeah.
Put an end to this. And in no point in this video can you see that these women are showing, making themselves a threat. They don't look dangerous. They're not even driving at this point. They're literally just sitting in their car. Again, on the side of the road, not blocking any traffic, not being a nuisance, not bothering anybody. And she explains what she's doing. She explains why she's there. She didn't hide anything. She said that she's there to help the city trap these cats, neuter them, and then release them.
Yeah, and I think even Mary at one point said, like, the city should be thanking us. Like, yeah, like, frankly, they should be.
I'm thanking you, Mary. I'm thanking you.
So Mary and Beverly are both arrested and charged. Mary is charged with criminal trespassing and interfering with governmental operations, and Beverly was charged with criminal trespassing and disorderly conduct, all misdemeanors. And comparing the body camera video to the incident report written by the officers, I found to be, like, really interesting. So, Camila, I'm hoping that you're going to be able to read it for us.
This is the incident report?
Yes.
Okay, so it says, quote, when Officer Crumpton made contact with the occupants of the vehicles, it was found that both suspects were feeding and attempting to trap stray cats. Both suspects had previously been trespassed from the area and instructed not to feed the cats. Mary Therese Alston had been trespassed approximately an hour before this contact, but had not left the area. So Officer Crumpton gave her another opportunity to leave before being arrested. Alston got in her car, but refused to leave the area and repeatedly attempted to get back out of her car and approach Officer Crumpton, who was speaking with Beverly Roberts. Officer Foster gave Alston multiple commands to leave, but Alston refused and continued trying to intervene with Officer Crumpton's contact with Roberts. At this time, Officer Foster placed Alston under arrest. Beverly Roberts was originally trespassed on March 4th, 2022, and had been observed in the area multiple times since that date. When Officer Crumpton informed Roberts that she would be going to jail, Roberts began screaming and cursing at officers and threw her keys at Officer Foster. Roberts was arrested on the above-listed charges and transported to the Elmore County Jail without incident or injury. So are they saying that she was screaming and cursing in this video that we just saw?
Yeah.
I think someone needs to have a double look at this video.
Yeah, seriously. Well, yeah, so they said, oh, you're going to jail. And she was like, Jesus Christ. And that was the only time that I ever heard her say anything. And then actually I did hear her say something like after she threw the keys, quote unquote, threw the keys into his hands. Oh yeah. So she says, so he says it's gonna get ugly if you don't stop. She like puts the keys in his hands, like maybe slam the keys into his hands. And she says, "You son of a bitch," is what she says.
Did she really?
That is, I guess. So so Beverly Roberts was originally trespassed on March 4th, 2022, and had been observed in the area multiple times since that date. And so again, we're going to get to a little bit about that, but I did just want to highlight that point because I think that that's a really interesting way to say that.
Okay.
Based on what we are going to find out about this.
Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind right now.
Yes, for sure. So according to CBS News, the officers can later be heard saying in parts of the video that aren't published by AL.com, quote, "I'm glad nobody was recording a couple of officers beating up on a couple of old ladies. It was rough," end quote. And one officer had said that he almost tased them, adding, quote, "She wound up almost whooping all of our asses," end quote.
See, this is, you're always missing one little piece to the story. Yeah. And this is just it. This is just it. I mean, I was already mad at the fact that they were aggressive with them from the beginning. Yeah. And just their tone with them. All of it could have been handled differently. But just hearing that.
And this to me almost, and again, I'm not them, I can't get into their heads, but this to me almost sounds like it's like later on them in the car is being like remembering almost that they're on body camera video and like trying to justify what they did by like trying to bring up that they may or may not have been threatened by these ladies, you know, in some way or felt that way. So I don't know, that's how I took that.
The video shows otherwise. These women do not look harmful. Obviously they're there doing a great thing for the city itself. And this is how the city repays them.
Basically, yeah, and like again, so like just to reiterate everything here, like there was so like, and I just want to like recap a little bit about what we saw in the video, right?
Yeah.
So while this officer is talking to Beverly, like in her car, you can kind of see like out of frame, like Mary goes to pick up the trap and she comes back and she's like, "Oh, are you kidding?" Like or something like that. Like she's like clearly outraged in the back of this video. Like maybe I can't see that part of the video, like you know, or that officer's perspective. I don't know. I guess I would be interested to see like how that whole interaction went because she's charged with interfering with governmental operations. Like it sounds like they were just tacking everything on her. But so there's that. But then again, so all this while Beverly's still in the car, they're just chatting. After she had just found out she went to jail, she gets out of the car, and that's when she goes to go give Mary her keys. And that's when the officer says, "You're gonna get like it's gonna get ugly," and like basically threatening her. And that's when like the key thing happens, and they're taken off to jail. That's it. You know what I mean? So like the whole like I never saw a taser. I never saw a reason to pull a taser. Like there is nothing in this whole situation that justifies any part of this whole interaction.
I was going to point out at both parties' behaviors. Now, when you see the officers arriving, you kind of see this. They're not slow at it. They already come full force. They already like say, you talked about the handcuffs coming out at the beginning. We talked about the aggressive tone at the beginning when they first arrived. They literally threatened them saying, "You're going to go to jail." Yeah. And
like they said it's going to get ugly.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever that means.
And then on the other side, you have Mary and Beverly just sitting. One of them is in the car. The other one is talking to the other. They're not screaming at anybody. They're explaining what they're doing. And for me, it just seemed like it just seemed like they were explaining and chatting with the officer. In no time that I saw this video, did I think, okay, this is going to get ugly.
You have these like cops that are just showing up and like right off the bat before anything like crazy happens, they're, you know, cursing at them. They're the one cursing and screaming, you know, from using their own words. Like they're the ones, threatening them. They're the one escalating the situation when like, you know, yeah, sure. Like they're there, you know, they're told them to leave and they're not leaving. Like, like, sure, like, maybe they should have left just to, like, you know, calm the whole situation, like, not make it go any further. But they come back and, like, right off the bat, like, before they even have an interaction with Beverly, they decide they're arresting her. Like, you know, before they even talk to Mary any further, they're saying, you take her to jail too. You know what I mean? So it's just, again, just another example of, like, these, of you know, police officers, you know, without any provocation at all, escalating the situation far beyond what it needed to go.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not here to say, you know, this is not for saying, you know,
this is not all cops at all.
No,
right?
not at
I know
all.
Plenty of police officers who would never do this because this is ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. No, my thing is this could have been handled completely differently than what was shown in this video. These are women who were trying to do a good thing, and these officers just escalated the situation to something that it should have never been started with.
Yeah. And, you know, you say the good thing too, because you keep saying that. And I think it's worth noting too, like, you know, there are so many crimes that are rooted in evil, right? Like drug dealers, murder, assaults, all this stuff, like all these violent crimes, robberies, you know, all this stuff, like that are rooted in these situations that, you know, that are intended to be bad. And these women genuinely, even if maybe, let's just like put it into a hypothetical world, like this is not true, but, you know, put it into a hypothetical world that, like, you know, it is that this is something that, like, is universally agreed upon. This should not be done, right? These women so clearly believed that they were in the right 100% of the time. And so don't you think that deserves a little bit of grace, a little bit? Like, no, like, not at all. Like, no, like, we're taking you to jail. Like, sorry.
Yeah.
Like, sure, they were there before and, like, they were explaining that to them. But, like, point being is that, like, the motivation behind this was good.
Yeah. I mean, they were standing their ground. They said that they were helping out the city. And they ended up in handcuffs.
Yeah. Well, the woman's attorney later says that the women were really bruised up after this incident, too. They said they had bruises on their arms and around their wrists from this arrest. Beverly even was apparently so upset and overwhelmed by the whole process of being arrested and jailed that she even passed out in jail and was left on this floor for several minutes before jail personnel noticed her and checked on her. As for those cops' bosses, when asked later by reporters about this whole incident, the chief of police said that the officers were totally in the right and that their actions were well within city policy.
So much to unravel here, just from those 3 paragraphs. First of all, I feel so bad for Mary and Beverly that they even had to have bruises from this situation. If anything, they should have had bruises from the cats that they were dealing with.
Yeah, I'm sure they got a couple scratches on their arms at some point. So.
That it's just unfortunate that it had to go this way. But of course, this is not the first that we hear of this type of situation. And also, for the cop's boss, at this point, it just sounds like they listened. The cop's boss sounds like he listened to his own boss, who is probably someone in the city.
Yeah. And I also think it's worth noting too, like, you know, just from a legal perspective, I think, you know, and sure, like at a certain point you have to admit that you're wrong, but like, maybe that didn't rise to that level. But I do think, you know, saying like openly that, you know, one of your employees or one of your officers made a mistake opens you up to a lawsuit. So sure, you know, maybe, you know, give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe that's what he was protecting. Maybe that's what he was doing by saying that this was right. And I'm not even really saying that they did anything necessarily illegal or against any sort of policy in any way, shape, or form. But like ethically speaking, like, and I think that's kind of where the gray area stands, right? Of like, you know, okay, well, like what's within policy and what should we actually be doing as opposed to like, you know, going out and like actually finding the bad guys in the town.
Yeah, no, looking at it from a human perspective and just as a good person, I know these are cops, but at the same time, you know who you're dealing with. You know when you showed up, this is not going to be a real threat. They have spoken to these women, it sounds like, more than once.
Yeah.
And so this is not the first time that they're dealing with them, and they should have gone with this in a different direction. And for sure. And they didn't. The boss sounds like he's saying what he has to say. Yeah, that's what it sounds like for me.
For sure.
But do we agree with it? I mean, I necessarily don't.
I don't. No, we're definitely not. Camila and I are not on the page on that page. So. Between Mary and Beverly's arrest in June and their trial that December, they hire a defense attorney who ends up start building a pretty strong argument for them, too. Alabama's cat ladies go to a bench trial in December of that year. The prosecutors lay out what they call a simple trespassing case. The city told Mary and Beverly to leave multiple times, and they did it. Plus, their interaction with police had escalated. But Beverly and Mary's defense attorney not only argued that the officers' force was excessive, but that their response was unnecessary completely to begin with.
They're standing their ground.
Literally. Also, too, so bench trial, too. So I'll just, because that's the first time that's come up in this podcast. The bench trial is a judge trial. So there's no jury. It's just one person. It's just the judge judging completely based off the law. Whether or not the defendants, broke the law or didn't break the law or what have you. And a lot of times it's a first of all, it comes down to the judge, whether or not that we go to a jury trial, we go to a bench trial, whatever. But a lot of times that's kind of hashed out. Like the default, I feel like most of the time is a jury trial. But prosecution and defense can kind of hash that out, and then the judge can kind of make that final ruling most of the time of whether or not we go to a bench trial. So I mean, frankly, if I was Beverly and Mary, I would be fighting tooth and nail to get a jury trial, in my opinion, because there's no freaking way that there's any jury in the entire world that's going to convict those two old ladies.
Well, my thing is, the judge, does he even want to go through I think I'm on the opposite side of you, does the judge want to go through this whole thing because of some cats? As a juror yourself, would you want to sit in court for a week to talk about how two old ladies wanted to save some cats?
I want to be so incredibly clear about this, Camila. I would die for Mary and Beverly. So, yes, I would 100% sit through a trial. But, I mean, at some point, though, I have to believe in some sort of faith in the justice system that there's some sort of just unbiased, just totally, based strictly on the law and no other external factors and all of this, that there are good people within that system that are going to do the right thing for these two older women just trying to do the right thing. You know what I mean? Just trying to live their lives in a way that is meaningful. And so I don't know. I have to believe that simply that the prosecution made some really good argument about a bench trial, and the judge was like, yes, that's a good legal argument for a bench trial, when in reality, you're probably right. So the attorney says that in order for someone to be charged with trespassing, we're getting to where you were asking it out.
Okay.
On public property, they need to be doing something illegal to begin with, a much higher bar than trespassing on private property, when all the property owner needs to do is tell someone to leave in order to press charges for trespassing. And feeding stray cats is not only not illegal, but TNR is a nationally recognized method of controlling feral cat populations. But the attorney argues that Mary and Beverly were targeted for their previous advocacy for animals. And so we're finally answering all of Camila's questions.
Yeah.
Camila, do you remember what police had said about that initial call? They said that Beverly, quote, was originally trespassed on March 4th, 2022, and had been observed in the area multiple times since that date.
Yeah.
Well, apparently that person was the mayor of Wetumpka, Alabama, Jerry Willis. He called the assistant chief of police over Beverly and Mary's activity, and that day said he had had enough.
No.
Mary and Beverly's attorney argues to the judge that this whole interaction, this whole thing, this whole entire arrest was retaliation for all of the times that Mary and Beverly had bugged the city and the city council and the mayor's office about animal rights ordinances and about animal abuse cases in the city. The attorney said that Beverly and Mary had become a nuisance to the city, and arresting them was how he was going to get them to leave him alone once and for all.
First of all, I got all of my questions answered.
I told you were going to.
And second of all, this is a waste of taxpayer money and so much wasted time. This,
Oh, yeah.
You know, in the video, when the officer was arresting the woman, he said something.
Beverly, yeah.
I think he said something along the lines of like how he needed to stop acting like a child. She needed to stop acting like a child. And the same words can be said about the mayor.
Oh, yeah. That feels really icky to me. That feels very much so like using your political power for like gain, right? Like, because if this woman is really that much of a nuisance for you, you know, maybe a possible threat to your reelection, and you are able to just make one call to the assistant chief of police and say, take care of this. Like, obviously they're gonna freaking do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it. I from the very beginning got icky feelings about this. And when I read this, I was like, oh, that explained everything.
I knew I was right. I can foresee the future.
And it makes sense about like, because we were talking about before about the pressure that these cops are clearly feeling from the top. And so like, yeah, like, you know, if they say, you know, you get a call from the assistant chief of police saying, hey, like we have a problem, like, you know, you need to go take care of this. Like, yeah, he's gonna be like, oh, well, the assistant chief of police wants me to go take care of this. So I'm going to go take care of this. And like, that's the vibe I got from the jump. So 100% that's what happened.
For me, it's not taking care of just this. It's taking care of cats. Since when was it?
True. Right. Well, yeah. And let's remember how this all started, right? It's all because of the freaking cats. So
I'm baffled. Yeah. I'm baffled that this is a high priority for certain districts.
Yeah. Well, Mayor Willis totally denies all of this and never even admits to being the person who called police about Mary and Beverly.
Of course.
And after the 5.5-hour trial, the judge reaches a verdict. The judge found Mary Alston and Beverly Roberts guilty of all of their misdemeanor charges. No. The cat ladies are each issued $100 fines and sentenced to 10 days in jail, which is suspended, so they don't have to serve any time necessarily. And they're also sentenced to 2 years of unsupervised probation.
That's just all a joke to me. I can't believe it. Yeah. And just guilty of, I guess... they were found guilty of trespassing.
So they both were charged with criminal trespassing. Mary was charged with interfering with governmental operations, whatever the F that means. And then Beverly was charged with disorderly conduct.
I've seen kids act worse than she did.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. Man. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just makes me like lose a lot of faith in the whole justice system. And also too, like I know enough about you know, how these, you know, small towns work, right? Because like we both work in those small towns. And so like, you know, I know that the judge knows the DA, who knows the police chief, who knows the mayor, you know, and so they're all buddies. So frankly, there's no doubt in my mind that like the mayor made one call to the judge and was like, hey, you know what, this problem needs to go away. So he put it away.
For me, it says, for me, what I took away was they were each issued $100 fines. That could have been
Which should have been enough.
Which should have been not just here. That could have just been done from the beginning.
Yeah. Oh, from the very beginning, yeah. You think about all of the money that was just wasted into the world, you know? Yeah, and just because of two old ladies just wanted to feed some freaking cats. Like, if you really hated this that badly, like, fine them to death. You know what I mean? Like, if that's really what you wanted to do, if you really wanted this whole thing to stop, give them fine after fine after fine after fine. You really had to arrest them. Like, that is just so ridiculous.
Yeah, and also 2 years of unsupervised probation.
Yeah. Okay. Like, yeah. Okay.
I don't know if this question will be answered later on or if it'll ever be answered. Did they actually do anything wrong?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I should have like called a lawyer and like have them and like interviewed him.
We need an expert on this. We need an expert. You just hired a journalist. We talked to the experts.
That is a very much so a gray area for me too, and I really want to know. Well, Mary and Beverly's attorney immediately says he is preparing to appeal that conviction, and he tells CBS News he wants to sue the city on behalf of his client. This time, he is going to request a jury trial. probably like you should have to begin with. Meanwhile, Mary and Beverly's story had blown up, receiving national attention. A GoFundMe page that was supporting their defense and appeal fees raised more than $80,000. Today, it's more than $90,000.
Oh.
People were touched by their story. Two women who were willing to take on the very top of their city and go to jail, all to help animals who desperately needed it. Here are some of the supportive words people had left on the GoFundMe page. Catherine Brankick said, "These compassionate women were doing what the city should have been doing. So sorry this happened to them and the cats to depend upon them." Jeevan Takar said, "I aspire to be as wonderful in life as you two ladies are." Amy Schmidt said, "Keep up the good fight, ladies. You're amazing, and I hope this doesn't discourage you from helping."
Preach.
Preach.
Preach, Amy, preach.
Yeah, seriously.
I think we're all on Beverly and Mary's side. If you're not by the end of this episode,
yeah.
I know. We're not on the same.
We're not friends.
We're not friends.
Yeah, we're not the same. So as Mary and Beverly's lawyer was preparing for the appeal, they got some pretty good news. In April of this year, 2023, the city said that they are no longer going to pursue the criminal charges against the two ladies, ending the criminal case.
I feel like there's going to be a plot twist or there's something else coming.
No plot twist. That's
that's it.
So,
okay.
I know. I've built a reputation for myself of plot twists. I really like that for me. But no, that's pretty much where we're at. So I will say, so there is here's the plot twist, I guess, actually, technically. So the I'm a little confused because there's a little bit of ambiguity because there was, they did say that this isn't them dismissing the charges altogether. So it's not it doesn't go away. So I guess it just kind of continues, but I guess it means that the city is not going to actively fight them on this. So point being is that if the city's not fighting them on this, and all of their appeals just naturally win, right? So then I guess so it's not them saying we give up, but it's them saying we're not going to win, so we'll just let you win, kind of thing.
Okay.
So the ultimate goal, the ultimate end result here though is no more criminal charges.
Okay. All right. So hopefully no more jail pictures for Mary and Beverly.
Yeah. After their arrests and their convictions, Mary and Beverly, of course, did not dare to tempt fate and return to their usual spot to try and help the cats. But they did live in the area still and drove the road on a regular basis. And they both said that was the worst part of all of this, having to drive by the area, seeing the cats in need of help, and overrunning the area and not being able to do a thing about it. It just broke their hearts. And so this is when I get back onto my soapbox here, because you all know how much I love my two rescue animals more than life. They're both snoozing right on their beds right next to me as we speak. I'm gonna cry. This is a reminder that there are millions of animals in desperate need of good homes across the country, and there are so many shelters out there just doing their best to care for them. Most of them are volunteers. And if you remember from episode 9, my favorite shelter worker, Kelly, got onto her soapbox to tell you all about why you should rescue and volunteer at an animal shelter if you're able to. Go back and listen to that episode to hear her talk about that so passionately. And also, that's episode 9, the Ellen Greenberg case. Crazy case. Listen to that full episode, and then you'll get a little bit of Kelly at the end. 3.3 million dogs and cats enter shelters every year in this country, and of those, almost half are put down for health and behavioral reasons, but also just because they could not find a place for them to call home permanently. So you've heard it here before, and so I'm going to say it again, and you're definitely going to hear this from me again in the future. Adopt, don't shop. There are so many animals, and yes, purebreds too, just waiting in a shelter for an owner they can give all of their love to.
I am all for the animals. I love animals more than I love people, probably.
That's fair.
If I could have 20 of them, I would. I have always dreamt, if there's something that I want to do later on in life, not career-wise or for myself, it's just to have land to build a shelter and to house so many animals, and hopefully they can get adopted. But if they can't, they would just like live there and they would have their own space. They can all get along together, hopefully.
They can all be best friends.
They can all be best friends. Yeah, in a perfect world. They can have all the toys that they want. If you are someone out there that is looking for an animal right now, this is your sign.
Yeah.
My voice, this is your sign. Telling you to go out and adopt a dog or a cat. They probably need it as well.
Yeah, and like, you know, and I just like because I've had both. I've had shelter dogs and I've also had like you know, dogs that we got from like the pet store kind of thing. My shelter dogs are leaps and bounds better. Like, you know, they are so like, you know, loving and like, you know, so like fun and just like I could talk about it all day long, but I won't get on that soapbox for too long. I will say I did just send you a picture of my 2 little dogs snoozing, because I did need to tell you about that and show you how that works, because so cute.
Oh my God, they're both knocked out, but they're on the same bed.
Hey. Oh, that is all that we have for you this week. So Camila, thank you so much for coming on. It was lovely seeing you.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me on. This was great. It wasn't a murder story. It wasn't something that was crazy.
Equally important.
But equally important. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, there you go. Well, tell everyone where they can find you and your work online if you would like to.
You can find me on Twitter at cbarcotv, and I think the same goes for my Facebook.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for coming on. And thank you all so much for listening. We are going to put all of our sources on our website so you can read everything for yourself and probably come up with a few theories too. And if you are just loving this podcast and are wondering how you can tell anyone and everyone about it, the best way to help others discover this podcast is to leave us a 5-star review and a rating wherever you are listening right now. So be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and we will see you next week for another episode of Crime Over Wine.
Proud member of the Podnuga Network.